Hi, this is Anita from 5 Minutes with Art. One of the most famous American artists by far is Jackson Pollock, but one of his famous works of art is number 5 that he did in 1948. And many people ask, well, why is this painting so famous? The heart of American abstract expressionism, Pollock 1948 number 5 is a testament to the complex interplay between art and the artist's life. The canvas is a sprawling constellation of drips, splatters, emotions. And so I think that's one reason why this is such an iconic masterpiece. Historically, the period following World War II was rife with change. Understandably, artists too sought to express the new world, uncertainties. The abstraction became the language through which they spoke. It became a clear departure from, the art of the past. Pollock in particular rode the crest of this wave. And he really was somebody who put his whole body and soul into producing his works of art. Personal factors also weighed heavy on this number 5. He was wrestling with inner demons, notably alcoholism. He had a very tumultuous, personal life. His personal life was in disarray. There were struggles steeped into his art. He was finding, expression in chaotic energy and raw intense in his drip paintings. And he had sort of like this dynamic sort of dance that he did around the canvas laid out on the floor. It was both physically demanding and emotionally demanding in so many ways. He also had exposure to Native American sand painting and these, creations of pouring color, sand on surfaces and patterns and images, sort of like sparked this approach to his art. So he really, number 5 in 1948 reflect the cross-cultural currents of the time. It really reflected this new type of art, this layer upon layer of this raw emotion on the canvas. This is one reason why number 5, 1948 by Jackson Pollock is so famous. It stands with the world, swirls of, there's chaos and there's this sort of lack of order, but yet order within this work of art, order within the disorder, you could kind of say. It's sort of like this post-war time in American history where there's sort of, this anger, this change is going on. The, 60s haven't quite come yet, but people can feel there's a change coming on. And Pollock sort of embodied that. He sort of, showed that through his art. Every drop and splatter on the number 5, 1948, was a shift from the traditional brush stroke, what became known as action painting. Action painting was when the painting was freely dripped and danced from his, his toolbox. So literally it was almost kind of like this poetic type of dance with layer upon layer with, you could see Jackson Pollock, probably drinking, smoking, and dancing around on the canvas. You can see the motion of this work of art. It's almost like this visual type of orchestra of his artwork. There, sort of this symphony of the drips of the colors, of this different layering. Also, the choice of colors is, understanding of their psychological impact from the earthy browns and yellows, with the fiery reds and cooling grays. So it became all these different hues began to generate this sort of, silence renaissance on this canvas itself, which sort of echoed, this also the human emotion in it. You had the, the earthy browns and the yellows and the reds and the grays, which are things that we maybe feel in our own emotion. As your eyes wander across the canvas, there's a weave of the narrative, a tapestry of thought. You can kind of really see, again, Jackson Pollock's life there. And that was one of the things that made Jackson Pollock such a brilliant artist is he had this ability to put his emotion into the canvas. So when you see his canvas, you see it up close and you see the layering of it, you can almost feel the emotion and that dance going on. And that's why it remains this enduring testament to him that, amid the turmoil of his own personal life, Jackson Pollock was still able to paint and put that emotion and that turmoil into these grand masterpieces of art. that it's like a performance or an orchestra that went on. If you'd like to be able to read more about this, we have a blog written on this called Why is Jackson Pollock's Number 5, 1948 So Famous? And we'll put a link in the description below if you'll be able to read more about this. But that truly is, Jackson Pollock was a master in being able to, I feel like, was a master in being able to show his emotion and his personal turmoil in the art that he produced. And that's what makes it such a great work of art and continues to be such a famous and great work of art today.